This is CBC Here and Now.
Hopefully, we'll make it easier and more attractive for other women to want to run.
Children in the House of Assembly. I'll have more coming up on Here and Now.
So I think it's extremely important that we significantly improve sidewalk, the clearing of snow and ice from sidewalks in the city.
This winter, you mightn't even see enough to make a snowman.
Too soon to talk snow? St. John City Council doesn't think so, but when it comes to more money, councillors are split.
Well, it's going to feel like winter in parts of the province tomorrow and very much like summer in others.
Welcome to Here and Now. I'm Carolyn Stokes.
And I'm Peter Cowan. It's tonight's top story. Hundreds gathered at the steps of Confederation Building in St. John's today. They brought with them their worries and frustrations over the future of the oil industry in this province. As Terry Roberts reports, workers and their supporters are tired of waiting for the federal government to step forward and help the industry.
This is a rare sight. Oil workers do not usually protest, but these are troubling times for the province's biggest industry. So they came early with a message to send.
I think we're in pretty rough shape here. I believe our federal government is really not doing much to help us here.
Oil and gas is important, and we want to hear from our government, and we want to hear from the powers that be about what's going to be done.
The looks on their faces say it all. They're worried about their jobs, their industry, and the banners reveal the target of their campaign.
What do we want? Political support. When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Political support.
When do we want it?
Now.
There was an air show and stories of the uncertainty and pain that has gripped an industry that employs thousands and accounts for nearly 30% of the province's economy. This Hibernia worker recently lost her job.
Unfortunately, due to the financial impact of being laid off, this has me seriously considering the option to leave my province permanently. I've spent many restless nights worrying about my future and where do I go from here.
This woman is a chef on the idled Terra Nova platform.
But I've seen more layoffs in the last 6 months than I have seen in 10 years. Now, the morale is far from fantastic. Life is far from good.
The vessel hasn't produced oil since last year. Its future and the jobs it supports is cloudy. This is the latest consequence of repeated and painful setbacks in the oil industry and growing frustration over what many are saying is a federal government that has turned their backs on their industry and their futures.
What we're asking is for you to work with us, listen to us, and invest in us.
Let's get Hibernia back into the drilling phase. Let's get Terra Nova back into production. Is that what you want?
The industry is teetering because of the global pandemic, with oil companies trying to protect their balance sheets. For months, the industry has been pleading for money from Ottawa.
My heart goes out to all my offshore family who are financially and mentally stressed at this time.
There were no federal Liberals in the crowd. In the past, Ottawa has said a federal investment in the offshore is a long shot, citing environmental concerns.
Every single night I go to bed thinking about it. And every single day, sir, I phone the federal government and hold their feet to the fire.
But provincial politicians promise to keep up the pressure on Ottawa.
They will have to listen because we will make them listen, and it's rallies like this that will hold them accountable.
With Chess Crosby taking aim at federal Natural Resources Minister Seamus O'Regan.
He's failed to deliver. I wrote the Prime Minister today asking that he appoint another minister to represent us in the federal cabinet.
But after an hour of speeches, the crowd dispersed, hopeful that their voices will be heard and their livelihoods protected. Terry Roberts, CBC News, St. John's.
Some residents and business owners in Conception Bay South say they're stunned by proposed development. Ocean Choice International wants to build a new wharf and cold storage facility here in the middle of Long Pond Harbor. Using fill, OCI wants to create 17,000 square meters of new land in order to build that wharf and cold storage structure. OCI bought the land back in 2018 from the Harbor Authority. There are two phases to the proposal. The first phase creates 4 acres of new land. The second phase would take up to about 13 acres of what is now harbor.
You know, the residents are used to that working harbour, are used to the, you know, the activity and the level of noise that produces. And I don't think any of the residents are against development, economic development, but something of that scale, right in their face of you know, being and having infilling a harbour. In this day and age, people don't infill harbours. I mean, you want to protect your harbour. You want to grow your harbour. Once you infill that harbour, you can't go back.
Well, so far, the project has been approved in principle by the town council, though the deputy mayor says CBS plans to hold public consultations. For its part, OCI says there's a rigorous regulatory process involving multiple departments from the federal to municipal levels. It says a new cold storage facility would create dozens of new jobs.
First of all, we haven't decided to proceed, but we are looking at making a home base to land our offshore vessels, and basically we'll be taking off already finished frozen at sea product and sorting it, cold storing it and shipping it to market. And in addition to the hundreds of people that are on the vessels, we'd be employing dozens of people on the site to take care of that activity.
And we're not finished with this story quite yet. We'll hear more from Moya Cowell in a little later on in the show, as well as more from OCI and the Deputy Mayor of CBS.
While the sexual assault retrial for RNC officer Doug Snellgrove hit a snag earlier today in St. John's, multiple potential jurors walked away. Here now's Malone Mullen explains.
Day one of Doug Snellgrove's retrial should have started with instructions to the jury picked yesterday and opening statements from counsel. Instead, court sheriffs found themselves wandering around town, handing out surprise jury summons to members of the public. It's not clear why several members of the jury quit at the last minute, but it meant prolonging jury selection and delaying the start of the trial. That's because 2 Ontario provincial police officers had been inside the courtroom to observe the proceedings and had landed in St. John's without self-isolating for 14 days. The health minister said as essential workers they were allowed to be there, but Judge Garrett Handrigan asked them to stay away and said he'd consider excusing anyone with concerns. The judge did apologize to 40 people plucked from parking lots and summoned to court on short notice today, but he did say that inconvenience was impossible to avoid. He did select 3 people for the jury, but also asked several more to come back in the morning, just in case. Malone Mullen, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, at the House of Assembly, the opposition parties and 2 independent MHAs banded together to score a partial political victory. It's not a done deal yet, but they shaved off a month off the government's interim supply bill, giving it a lifespan of 2 months instead of the 3 the Liberals wanted. The interim supply is designed to keep the financial wheel of the provincial government churning ahead of a formal budget.
I think we simply demonstrated to the government that they can't do any old thing they want to do. They have to be reasonable, and we kept them to a certain sense of fiscal discipline, which this Liberal government has been missing for 5 years now.
And the House of Assembly is making a change, one that will allow MHAs to bring their babies to work. And as Mark Quinn reports, the motion was delivered just in time.
Sitting in committee this morning, members of the House of Assembly discussed a change to who is allowed to enter the legislature when it's sitting.
This House of Assembly is such a privilege to be here that when we speak, we should be speaking on things that matter.
MHA Sarah Studley is clearly pregnant.
So I believe I might have been an instigator for this change.
Today, MHAs voted on a motion to make it easier for MHAs who are parents to bring their infants into the House. Torngat Mountain's MHA Layla Evans spoke in favor of the change.
The only way you're going to get acceptance is by having a presence. The only way you're going to normalize something is by having a presence. And by having an infant in here with a parent really will start to normalize it.
The motion passed unanimously with a standing ovation.
I think it's very important. It's kind of symbolic in a way because we're entrenching it in our rules that parents are allowed to bring infants into the House of Assembly. We have to get more women involved in politics. It's very important. Hopefully, we'll make it easier and more attractive for other women to want to run.
With COVID,
what happened is a lot of people had to stay home to look after the children. And of course, most of them were women. And the point I was making is a lot of these women were engineers, they were teachers, they were doctors, they were nurses, they were educators, they were, people in the workplace. And so we fall back on, well, the woman's going to look after that.
MHA Sarah Studley is due in early October. She says she hopes to be back in the House of Assembly shortly after that with her son. Mark Quinn, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, in the words of Health Minister John Haggie, it's sniffle season. COVID is about to collide with the seasonal flu, so health officials are upping their game. They're hoping that 80% of this province's population will roll up their sleeves and get a flu shot this season. Here now, Cease Hare explains.
Experts say it's more important than ever to get a flu shot to reduce the burden on a health system that's already dealing with COVID-19. And this province is ready. It has bought over 425,000 doses of the flu vaccine. Free flu shot clinics have become the norm in the last few years, and they've succeeded in getting more people vaccinated. Last year, a record number of shots were given, with a vaccination rate of 30%. But this year, the province has set its sights high. It has a goal, an 80% injection rate. The question is, how do you do it? That's almost triple.
It's going to be an interesting year for sure because, with social distancing, it's going to be harder for us to deliver these shots in an effective manner, like we have in the past.
More complicated because in order to prevent the transmission of COVID-19, mass immunization clinics can't operate like last year. The provincial health department says it's working on a plan with regional health boards to avoid overcrowding and to ensure social distancing at its clinics. Powell says family doctors want to be part of the solution.
Public Health Agency of Canada is asking nationally for the provinces to look at alternate ways of delivering the flu shot this year so that we can increase our capacity. And they've asked provinces to look at family practice offices.
But there's a snag with that. In 2017, the province stopped paying doctors a fee for flu shots, and the province's medical association wants that fee reinstated. And Powell says so far, there have been no meetings with the department about having family physicians deliver flu shots. Local pharmacies can provide flu shots too for a fee, and the Pharmacists Association of Newfoundland and Labrador says it's working with the health department on how the vaccination program will look in pharmacies. As for those free clinics, the department says schedules and locations will be announced in a few weeks, and you can expect those clinics to be open by the end of October. Cease Hare, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, we got an update from the Department of Health and Community Services. In an email to CBC, the department says it will be discussing the vaccination plan with the province's medical association as well as other healthcare professionals.
Well, the City of St. John's Committee of the Whole has shot down a proposal to spend almost $1.4 million more on sidewalk snow clearing next year. One councillor says the condition of the city's walkways is indefensible in the wintertime. But as Here and Now's Jeremy Eaton explains, Snowmageddon and COVID-19 have left St. John's cash-strapped.
This would spend up to $900,000 on equipment from capital funds and up to $450,000 in operating funds, with a balance of roughly a third on intersection clearing and 2/3 on sidewalk snow clearing.
It's no secret that when the snow falls, sidewalks often end up looking like this.
In February, I made it clear to council that I was no longer interested in defending this service without a commitment to real substantial progress going forward.
Froud, who is the council's lead for the Public Works Department, has been listening to complaints and concerns. The city even did a survey of residents, which backed up what Froud's been hearing.
The survey was quite clear. It shows a dissatisfaction of residents and their feelings of unsafe conditions. I've listened to those with disabilities share their experience in getting around, and it weighs on me heavily that we are not further along.
Mayor Danny Breen acknowledged the need to do more before highlighting what the city has already done. 2020 has not been kind to the province's capital city. The city is facing down a deficit of up to $20 million this year.
I very strongly believe that any funding of that magnitude needs to be a part of the bigger budget discussion when we have a better handle on what the financial implications are upon us. I think if we were to do this today, we are going into the unknown financially, and I'm not prepared to do that.
And he wasn't alone in this thinking.
Where's the money coming from? There's only one way the money is going to come, and that's through the people. Taxes increase. And I don't think people out there right now, especially right now, can have a tax increase. This winter, you mightn't even see enough to make a snowman.
In the end, the Committee of the Whole voted down the sidewalk snow clearing budget increase, but it has committed to looking at other options next budget time. Now, this issue will appear before Council for a final vote in the coming weeks, but based on the 7-3 defeat, it's unlikely that anything will change. Jeremy Eaton, CBC News, St. John's.
We know how to test. It's one of the most preventative measures or informative measures of how to behave. Let's use it to our advantage.
Is it time to burst the Atlantic bubble? Some think so. We'll look at the strategy, the boosters, and the opponents coming up.
We saw hazy skies again today. Now tomorrow, rain is going to move in for parts of the province, even more so as we head through Friday and Saturday. I'll have all those details and your full forecast coming up.
Welcome back. As we heard earlier, some residents in Conception Bay South have big concerns about a proposal to build a cold storage facility in the middle of the harbor in Long Pond. Ocean Choice International wants to fill in part of the harbor to create over 4 acres of new land with a new wharf attached. Now that's the first phase. The second phase would increase the size further to a total of around 13 acres. I spoke with one longtime CBS resident to get her thoughts on the proposal. I asked Moya Cal what her reaction was when she first learned of the project.
Somewhat blown away the fact that something like this could be proposed in the Long Pond, in the harbour of Long Pond. You know, certainly, you know, there's a lot of concern with the residents and with the boat operators within Long Pond. You know, for twofold. And don't get me wrong, you know, I have a lot of respect for OCI and for the leadership in OCI. I also have a lot of respect for the vision that the town has for encouraging marine recreation in the area. It's my passion, and I truly think that's a real sweet spot that the town should focus on. But can the two exist side by side? That's what I question, you know, and that's what many of the residents in and around Long Pond have the same concerns. The project is going to be infilling Long Pond Harbour by some 17 acres. That's over 5 hectares of land. It's going to be 300,000 cubic meters of rock that is going to be going into Long Pond Harbour. And to put that in perspective, that's about 30,000 truckloads of rock being dumped into the harbour. And that's a significant displacement of water. So from an environmental perspective, you know, we're concerned about, you know, the change of flow of the water. How is that going to restrict the flow? And how is that also then subsequently going to affect the folks that are near the shore of Long Pond Harbour and have facilities and homes and operate boats in the harbour? Of course, with a development as large as this, you're going to have light, you're going to have noise, you're going to have significant offloading. You've got a fleet of some 5 to 6 vessels which are up to 65 meters long. They're going to be coming in and out of the harbour. Long Pond Harbour has always been a commercial. It's a working harbour, and the residents are used to that working harbour, are used to the activity and the level of noise that produces. And I don't think any of the residents are against economic development, but something of that scale, right in their face of having infilling a harbour. In this day and age, people don't infill harbours. I mean, you want to protect your harbour. You want to grow your harbour. Once you infill that harbour, you can't go back. And so residents who have invested their savings into properties there within Long Pond, looking at the vistas, looking at the sunsets, the beautiful sunsets of Conception Bay, never thought in their years that they would then, that sunset would be replaced by a 5-story building right literally in their front yard. So I think it's unfortunate, and I would just hope that both OCI and the town of Conception Bay reassess this and truly balance what they're giving away for what they're receiving.
Well, OCI says it's looking for a home base to land its offshore vessels. The proposed cold storage facility in the middle of the harbor would take already frozen sea products, store them, and then ship them to market. If given the go-ahead, Blaine Sullivan says it could mean dozens of new jobs for the area. He spoke with the morning show's Adam Walsh.
Well, we're at a spot now where we've consulted with a lot of the homeowners in the area. Was down at their homes and met them, and consulted with some of the recreational users. People are doing yachting in the area and things like that. And as a part of our plan, if we are going to proceed, we'll have further consultations. But there's some positives that comes with this. We would be making a channel down alongside, which would be safe and clearly marked for boaters to move in or out to the lower pond. And we don't feel we're interfering with existing users, but we're in discussions with them and seeing that's certainly be a part of the process for sure, dealing with those things.
I've been speaking with the people that you've been speaking to too, because like I was interviewing them yesterday, and I know that obviously I phoned them once they knew I was going to be interviewing them just to chat, just to have some more chats, and they're still saying this is going to ruin the area, it's going to ruin boating, and then there's a slew of environmental concerns for all of the people who live there, including noise pollution. They're wondering about even stuff like eelgrass and all of that. So with all that stacked up, how do you make people feel okay about building essentially this island in the middle of the harbour?
Well, from a regulatory point of view, we're dealing with a fairly rigorous process for some years now. We're dealing with the federal government, several departments, the provincial government. We're dealing with the municipal governments. We really make our living from the ocean, and our 1,700 employees are depending on us to be good stewards of the ocean. And it's with that type of thinking that we're approaching this project, and we're certainly a part of our plan to make sure it's done in a good manner.
Well, the morning show's Adam Walsh took this to the deputy mayor of CBS. Richard Murphy says there's a lot to be gained with this controversial development. He says public consultations will be part of the decision-making process. Murphy says it's unfair for residents to say they were blindsided because OCI made its intentions known when it bought the land 2 years ago.
This has the possibility of being a very, very good economic impact. OCI is planning on spending approximately $16 million here to build a facility, which will mean that there will be local jobs. Once it's approved and up and running, the cold storage facility, it will mean approximately, I think, something like 30 or 40 full-time jobs. Not only direct jobs, but it will also have a positive impact on the owners of properties and businesses here in the port, like the welding companies, the grocery stores, gas stations and that kind of stuff. So it has a positive impact from an economical point of view, for sure.
You're filling in a harbour which is used for recreation vehicles. There's environmental concerns. The question is, why here? Why go and put dump truckload after dump truckload of rocks and soil and everything else to build this, and with unknown consequences when it could go somewhere else on the shore? Why here?
Well, it's a good location for OCI, and to say that there's going to be rocks and infill take place if it goes ahead, absolutely. But none of this is going to happen without the proper studies in place. We have Department of Fisheries and Oceans have to be involved. Navigational departments will have to be involved. OCI is committed to make sure that the channel is not affected. If it is affected, the channel will be redredged, made even probably better than it is now. So, impacts absolutely, but hopefully positive impacts.
Talk about a buzzkill.
We're going into, 3 years of legalization now, and it's still only one dispensary in this big town.
It's an hour in Central to go either way to get your cannabis legally.
Because of this strike, there's no cannabis retail in Central Newfoundland. I'm Garrett Barry, and I'll bring you that story.
This weather forecast is brought to you by Newfoundland and Labrador Tourism. Take the time to explore this fall. Learn more at stayhomeyear.ca.
Time for a look at the weather forecast. Ashley, felt a bit like a hazy summer day out there. What's driving that?
Yeah, it was a beautiful first start to the day, certainly here in the east, but we did see that haze move in, and it's again, like we talked about yesterday, those wildfire smoke, that wildfire smoke moving in the higher atmosphere. Let's take a look at the satellite picture there. You can see pretty much most of Newfoundland is seeing that smoke, and even in through parts of Labrador, however, there's a lot more cloud cover there, so you're not seeing as much of that haziness, but that's generally going to continue as we head through the night tonight. So again, if you're looking out for the sunset, it'll be an interesting looking sunset, but likely not going to see that certainly on the west coast. We do have some showers developing. Those clouds have moved in as well. That will continue as we head through the overnight tonight to spread towards the interior, but beautiful afternoon for the most part. We saw temperatures around 15, which felt a lot warmer in that sunshine, 18 degrees in Badger, 17 in Corner Brook, and then we've got those single-digit temperatures again for Labrador, Lab West anyway, 6 degrees for Lab City, and Hopedale a similar temperature. So here's a look at the future tracker. That shower activity moving, spreading across the big land, and then some showers moving in along the south coast, as well as potential for the northern peninsula to see those showers, certainly into the morning hours. And then note for areas in Lab West, some cooler temperatures tonight. So we'll see the potential for some showers to move or change over to some flurries overnight tonight as your temperature hovers around the 0 degree mark. It will be windy across the board. The winds will certainly pick up in the east here by the early morning hours. We're looking at gusts anywhere from 30 to 50 kilometers per hour, but temperatures around 9 to 11 degrees, and the cooler temperatures though up through Labrador into those single digits through the day. So as we head through the day tomorrow, certainly going to look at that potential for some showers along the south and west coast. Otherwise, it will be a pretty lovely afternoon. Those winds shift to southwesterlies, and at this time of the year, well, really in general, but certainly at this time of the year, that means that we're going to see a push of warm air move back in. And that means temperatures will be sitting in the 20, 21 degree range, certainly for the east, but note those winds, southwesterlies 50 to 70 kilometers per hour, and then temperatures in the high teens along coastal, the west coast, with your winds gusting upwards of about 60 kilometers per hour as well. Now for Labrador, going to hang on to the chance of some wet snow or showers through the day, certainly in the west. Otherwise, we're going to head back up 19 degrees for Mary's Harbour tomorrow, with the potential for some showers through the day. So we do have a special weather statement in effect. Now this is because as we head through Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, our next weather maker is going to bring looks like a significant push of rain with some of that tropical moisture as well. So some area, anywhere in those areas, we could see upwards of 80, maybe even 100 millimeters of rain. As you can see, this heavy rain pushing through Saturday morning. Eventually that will clear, and another ridge of high pressure will move in behind that, which is good news for the rest of the weekend. But until we get there, we are looking at temperatures dipping in the west and then hanging on to those warmer temperatures. Again, all because of that wind, right? So we've got those southwesterlies, we hang on to the 20 degree weather, and then in behind that, when you get that more northerly component wind, those temperatures will drop. And then Saturday, pretty much the same thing. It's looking like single digit temperatures as we could see through parts of the interior. Then we turn our attention to Hurricane Teddy. Now, right now it's way south of us as a Category 2 hurricane, but as we head towards the weekend and into next week, there is a lot of uncertainty with this. However, it does track north, so we do have a lot of days to figure this out. Middle of next week, we could start to see, or things will start to come together as far as what to expect, but it's certainly something that I'm going to keep on my radar. But again, the uncertainty at this point is there's quite a bit of it. So until we get there, we're looking at temperatures dipping for the weekend. So after Sunday and into Monday, we're looking at temperatures in the teens. However, the return of that sunshine as we get a ridge of high pressure that moves in. Same thing for central and western Newfoundland. However, look at your overnight lows dipping back down into those near zero or just above zero temperatures into western Newfoundland as well. So by 17 degrees by Monday, but your overnight lows dropping into about 5 degrees. And then for eastern Labrador, you're looking at temperatures climbing into Monday as well, back into those mid-teens with some sunshine, but it is looking unsettled and cool for Lab West. Now I wanted to share this great shot. See, this is what the sunset's been looking like because of those smoky skies, and probably will again tonight. Thank you so much for sending that shot in. And if you have any weather photos that you'd like to share with us, send them to nlphotos@cbc.ca.
Great, thanks, Ashley. Well, it's not just humans that can give the gift of life. The Veterinary Specialty Center in Mount Pearl has a pet blood donor program. It started when the clinic opened 5 years ago, but now it's looking to recruit more dogs and cats to take part.
For a pet to have a blood transfusion, it's really life-saving for them, because without the blood or the plasma or the platelets, they can bleed out very easily, especially when they go through such a big blood volume and very quickly in traumas or in a surgery. For us to have those bags of blood there, it's just that we just whip it out of the fridge and it goes right in, and it saves the animal's life pretty much right away.
I have had patients in surgery that have been bleeding in surgery, and without having blood in the building that we could just go get, they would not have gone home with their owners. And then we also have patients that come in that have other issues like immune-mediated hemolytic anemia, where the body starts destroying a dog's red blood cells or a cat's red blood cells, and by the time they get in, they're at a life-threatening level and they need blood now. For dogs, they have to be at least 50 pounds, at least a year of age, and less than 8 years of age. And for a cat to donate blood, they need to be at least 5 kilograms. They also have to be the right temperament. We try our best not to sedate dogs for blood donation, just because we don't want them to have to recover from that if they don't have to. And you'd probably be surprised how many dogs will lay down, wag their tail, allow you to take the blood, and then get a treat afterwards. For dogs, the risks are honestly very, very low. The risks are slightly higher for cats, because cats do require sedation to donate blood.
First, we get you to come and fill out our survey online, and then we set up their initial interview. And with that initial interview, I'll bring them in and we'll draw blood work for a CBC and chemistry panel. If I notice that our blood is going out of date, I'll call and make an appointment for a donation. Or if we need an emergency donation, most of the time our emergency donations come from our staff animals. We like to keep them on hold just in case, because you don't know when emergency is going to happen. It could be 3 a.m., it could be 1 o'clock in the afternoon. But there's sometimes that our staff animals are not available for us, so we definitely will call anybody at any time. It could be, I could go down through my list and need someone right away, so the first person that answers I'll call in on. We'll have them sedated if they need to be, if they're bouncy. And then we will clean and prep the area on the neck, and then collect the 450 mils for dogs of blood. It's usually a pretty quick process. It happens within 10-15 minutes. And then once the animals wake up, they have some treats, they get some loves and pets and snuggles with us for a little bit before their owners come back and pick them up.
In general, we'd like to have a dog have at least 3 months between blood donation, but they can give blood as often as every 45 days if they needed to.
Jinx, he was our first blood donor. He has given, I believe, 7 or 8 bags of blood, maybe more. But he's been a blood donor since the very beginnings.
And some of them are first-time donors. My new dog, Rio, was a donor about 2 months ago.
Well, obviously, the first perk is that you're going to save a life. The second is we do a full blood work panel once a year, and that's the chemistry and the CBC. And every time they come to donate, we do a CBC. That's just a check to make sure that all their blood counts are fine. They get a physical exam, and if your pet ever needs a transfusion and they've given us blood in the past, they will get a free transfusion from us. So we call them VSCNL hero dogs, because they're saving lives.
Welcome back. The Atlantic bubble means our corner of the country is more restricted than other parts of Canada. Most people outside the Atlantic region can't come here without a 2-week quarantine. The strategy is successfully limiting the spread of COVID-19, but is it time to burst the bubble? Here's Tom Murphy.
For the kids, the game goes like this. Trying to keep the bubble from bursting as long as you can. Bubbles are supposed to be fun. But these days, any talk of bursting the Atlantic bubble is almost considered to be sacrilegious.
I don't want to burst the bubble, not yet, no.
I don't think they should open the bubble.
I feel very safe in the Atlantic bubble.
Here's how it works. With few exceptions, if you travel into the bubble from outside Atlantic Canada, you must self-isolate for 14 days.
How do you feel about the Atlantic bubble?
We have our own little bubble.
We're in the best bubble you can get.
And let's face it, there's a global pandemic on, but things are sailing along pretty well here inside this force field. People wear masks some places, like on the ferry, but life is otherwise pretty normal here. Only a few active cases, no community spread, and plenty of freedom. And a recent poll suggests the vast majority of Atlantic Canadians have no interest in bursting the bubble. Yes, people inside the Atlantic bubble feel like they've somehow been fortified.
Do you like the idea of the Atlantic bubble?
Yeah, actually it's totally good because I think Nova Scotia had the better situation than Ontario.
Welcome to BEI. You have your documentation.
Before July, for the most part, Atlantic Canada's borders were closed. Then the provinces decided to open up to each other, but only each other.
You have your self-declaration form?
Just some paperwork and an ID check.
The carpet has been rolled out. You're very, very welcome.
And then the royal treatment. So are you feeling tempted to enter the bubble?
Do you want to try opening your window there?
Well, consider Brenda Chastelain, university student from Ontario, one of thousands who were stuck in a mandatory 14-day quarantine in Halifax.
How are you doing up there?
Does that work okay?
Friends deliver groceries to his door.
But as much as I'm getting outside these days.
But no one can take away the boredom, growing by the day. And this is only day 12. Talk about a university initiation.
Would love to be able to feel like I could go back to visit family in Ontario whenever I want to. But at the same time, I think this is one of the safest areas in North America right now. But I am hopeful at some point that I'll be able to get back and see some family.
But when? Premiers and public health officials in Atlantic Canada have been sounding downright protective about opening borders.
I believe it would be premature today to be considering a further loosening of our border restrictions.
We don't have any timelines to make changes.
There's considerable fear, I would say.
Ongoing requirements for a quarantine.
So will the bubble ever burst?
So you just go inside, bring photo ID.
Turns out the incoming university students could actually be the canary in the coal mine, so to speak.
This has been a journey that the province has
according to Nova Scotia Premier Stephen McNeil.
We think that the fact that we're welcoming thousands of young people from across the country will allow us to get a sense of the mobility of that virus. We're very encouraged by the fact that the system is working.
What are the conditions?
But for some in business, the bubble can't open fast enough. Don Mills, business owner and former pollster, says it's time to prick it.
We think we're safe from the world in Atlantic Canada. We are safe from the world in one respect. In another respect, our economy is being, really hard hit.
The economy everywhere in this country has been hard hit, and the bubble has some people questioning whether the fundamentals of nationhood means being in this together. The protectionist bubbling is unprecedented. Is it unconstitutional? It's something Ottawa legal expert, aka bubble outsider, Errol Mendez, has been researching.
Have we ever had anything like this in Canada before?
No, and hopefully we won't for another 100 years, but this is a very unusual situation. And
He's parsed the nitty-gritty and thinks a legal challenge would be iffy.
as long as governments can provide cogent scientific and public health reasons for limiting those rights, they are constitutional. I know that others disagree, but this is my firm conviction.
Which is exactly what they want to hear back in the bubble room.
They're not trying to be mean. I don't believe they're just trying to keep it contained.
Tom Murphy, CBC News, Halifax.
The Atlantic bubble hasn't been without its critics. We're still waiting for a judge to decide whether it's a violation of the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. Are there ways that we could allow more movement? Well, Tim Powers thinks so. He's a Newfoundlander living in Ottawa and also a pollster. Thanks for joining us.
Great to be with you, Peter.
We've talked a lot about the benefits of restricting travel into the province. What do you see as the cost here?
Well, look, first of all, what we're trying to do, we put out an opinion piece, myself and Deirdre of Other Oceans, is to start a responsible dialogue that's happening anyway. The number that's out there, that 78% of Newfoundlanders and Labradorians, Atlantic Canadians, are opposed to the bubble, is crushing. We think there's enough data now, enough practice in place in other jurisdictions that we can have a conversation about importing those practices in our province and helping open the bubble.
So how do you think it should work?
Well, I think it's probably in line with what the health authorities in Newfoundland and Labrador are doing, and credit to them. They've done a good job. Premier Ball, Premier Fury, Dr. Fitzgerald, Dr. Haggie, thank you for what you've done. But I think we now need to expand our thinking. So testing, let's just use that as an example. I'm in Ottawa today. Today in Ontario, it's a hotspot. There are 61 cases. Someone could go online and say, look, he's in Ottawa. He shouldn't come. He should be subject to all of our most fulsome restrictions. Say I was in Thunder Bay and there were 0 cases. They could say, you know what? Here's what you need to do. You get a test before you come down by the government of Ontario. You get a test when you land, and you get a test 2 or 3 days afterwards. And if all of those tests show that you are negative for COVID-19, then you can go about your business as other Newfoundland and Labradorians would be doing in the province on that day. We know how to test. It's one of the most preventative measures or informative measures of how to behave. Let's use it to our advantage.
But we've heard from Dr. Janice Fitzgerald, the issue with testing is just because you test negative when you arrive doesn't mean you couldn't develop the disease maybe a week or even 2 weeks later. How do you address those concerns?
Well, that's why you would have periodic testing. Take a test before you come. And if that test says you don't have COVID, that's past decision gate 1. You can then travel. Take a test after you land in Newfoundland and Labrador, be a day after, 2 or 3 days after. See what that result says, and then test again if necessary. Make that test for people who can afford it, user pay. Those of us who travel to Newfoundland and Labrador pay a hell of a pretty penny to get there. I wouldn't mind, and I suspect many others wouldn't mind, putting out a few dollars to have that done so it's not borne by the taxpayers of the province. Peter, we're going to be living with COVID for a very long time. It is totally unsustainable to believe that the province of Newfoundland and Labrador, in its current economic circumstances, can just say, stay away, expats and everybody else, until this disease is gone. This will sink the province if other economic challenges don't.
How much of your opinion is influenced by the fact that you are a Newfoundlander who's not allowed into the province right now?
But I have a 78-year-old mother there. Do you think I want to put my mother in jeopardy? I'm not the only Newfoundlander who lives away, who creates economic opportunity in different places and works in Newfoundland and Labrador. Yes, I'm away, but that doesn't diminish my Newfoundlandia or my right to have a particular opinion on this subject, or my desire to see the province that I love continue to grow and protect itself. I'm not wanting to bring a disease to my island. I'm wanting to say to my island and Labrador, let's have a constructive conversation. Let's look at tools that are out there now in other jurisdictions, and let's bring them to bear. Being locked down till 2021 or 2022 is just not feasible.
Well, thanks for sharing your opinion and getting that conversation started.
Well, I would add one thing, Peter. We are the province that was immortalized on September 11, 2001 in the great production Come From Away. Now we're being told to stay away. How Newfoundland and Labrador is that?
Welcome back. Liberals wrapped up their cabinet retreat today. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau was asked if it would be irresponsible for the opposition to force an election after the throne speech next week. Trudeau said he does not want an election right now, but he also pointed out that New Brunswick just held an election that went well.
I know that Canadians want their politicians to be focused on them and their well-being. And I know that all opposition parties want to do a good job of representing Canadians in their views and their concerns, and they will look at the throne speech with that in mind. I think it's a little irresponsible to be talking about recklessness when it comes to elections. I think I should, and we all should, have tremendous confidence in Elections Canada to be able to bring forward strong measures to keep us safe and allow for the expression of the democratic will of the people.
Well, leaders of both the Bloc Québécois and the Conservatives may not be there in person for the throne speech. They're both off because of possible exposure to people with COVID-19.
Let's bring Ashley back in for one final look at the weather forecast. Ashley, how does tomorrow look?
Well, you're going to wake up to Lab West to some cool temperatures for sure, and even potentially some wet snow. That will see those showers move towards central and eventually coastal areas of Labrador as we head through the day tomorrow. However, temperatures as you get to southwestern or southeastern portion rather are actually going to be fairly nice. You're looking at temperatures in the high teens, and then for the island, temperatures back up again tomorrow into the high teens, low 20s, and we can thank southwesterly or southerly flow for that. However, it is going to be a little bit wet for areas along the west, north, and south portions of the island. The rest of us looking at those showers moving in later on in the afternoon and towards the evening hours as we head towards the Avalon.
Thanks, Ashley, for a look at that last look at the weather forecast. Lots of news on the way tomorrow. Interesting, we heard that debate about the Atlantic bubble. The normally Wednesday briefing has been moved to Thursday this week, so it'll be a chance to ask Dr. Janice Fitzgerald about some of those concerns we've heard.
Yeah, we'll be following that for sure. Hope you can join us tomorrow night. Good night, everyone.
Good night.